Out of the Blue, proudly brought to you by Horton.
Another surprise!
Out of the blue,
You want that with fries?
out of the blue. Come with me across the sea. On another view, we're gonna cook for you.
Nothing but blue skies!
Out of the blue,
You want some chili with those fries?
out of the blue.
Emerging from its history as a penal colony to one of Lonely Planet's top 10 cities to visit. Where am I? Well, Fremantle, Western Australia. Welcome to today's episode of Out of the Blue. Fremantle is about 30 minutes drive south of Perth. In today's program, we take a look at the much sought after Rottnest Island scallops and how business and fisheries work together to maintain this sustainable industry. Then I cook them up with noodles, oyster sauce and broccolini. I'm visiting the Freo market, rich in history, vibrancy and culture. But first, Peter tells us about the evolution of Freo. I'm here on this strip called the Cappuccino Strip in Fremantle, and it's a beautiful afternoon. And I'm with a gentleman that knows a heck of a lot about the history of Fremantle. Peter Vinci joins me now. How are you, Peter?
I'm very well, thank you.
Hey, Peter, tell us about Freo, its history.
Freo, when I was growing up, and I've lived here in Fremantle now for the last 60 years, and I've seen many changes that have happened. I think the big influx was, straight after World War II, the many immigrants that hit the shores, and the port of Freo was the doorway in for the many European families to settle here in Fremantle and to create a new life for themselves. There's been many highlights. The biggest would have been, Bond Syndicate that won the cup back in the 80s. It changed Fremantle's style. I can remember, prior to the cup, we only had probably 3 restaurants. And look at it today, we've got an abundance and number of cafes, restaurants, and we're trying to become the food hub of Perth. We've got a lot to offer. We've got great beaches, we've got the Bathers Beach, we've got many heritage listed buildings that tell a lot of stories.
I promise I won't mention the Freo footy team, but if you had a choice, if I came to you and said, Peter, I need to see 3 of absolute highlights of Freo, what would they be?
The fishing boat harbour, which has brought a lot of memories through to me, but at the same time attracts a lot of people. Next to it is the Esplanade Park, which is a massive area. The Fremantle Prison by far, you need to go and check that out to get the feel of what it was really like.
Yeah, nice feeling to be able to go in and then come out.
You did right, knowing the fact that you weren't going to go back in there.
Oh, too. So, Peter, look, I'd have to ask you before we say goodbye, but this is a book that you've written about the family, Fremantle's family recipes.
So the cookbook is just not a normal cookbook. It's got stories, it's got history, and it's got the reflection of memories that the families share.
Spaghetti alla carbonara.
Alla carbonara.
Oh, Peter. Hey, Peter, we could speak for hours.
I know we can.
I thought you may have been involved with the Da Vinci's.
I wish I was. Leonardo's my hero.
After the break, my mate Keith whips up a scallop recipe we'll all want to cook.
Gee, that's so simple, I can't believe it. It's
Well,
quick,
look,
it's 2 or 3 minutes, max. Riccardi Seafoods harvest some of the best scallops in the world. Ian Riccardi tells us about the Rottnest Island scallops and what makes them so sought after.
With scallops, they're, I suppose, like any animal sort of in the environment, sort of climatic conditions and things that impact them. So when the scallops have got a 2-year life cycle, its life cycle is very important. So there's a cycle, a breeding cycle that we sort of been following, and obviously we need the animals to spawn, and we catch the animals after spawning. So this ensures the longevity of the species. The harvesting of scallops, we trawl. We don't sort of dredge, but we trawl. We have tickler chains on nets, and they skim the surface of the bottom, and scallops jump in front of the net and the product gets caught. We, together with the MG Callis Group, own the licenses here out of Fremantle, and we're able to sort of land this product fresh on a daily basis. We've done a lot of sort of work with chefs, and they can see the difference in the sweetness and the texture when they lay out their plates. I like the scallop sort of lightly seared, and just, as I say, just a minute sort of on the hot plate, and a little bit of oil and lemon, and the flavour is all there. I also like it with the, cooked with the spaghetti, a fresh tomato sauce, a little bit of chilli and garlic, and the flavour's all there.
Hey Keith, I wasn't expecting lunch. This looks interesting. What are you going to cook?
We're going to cook rottennest scallops, seared, and we're going to put a bit of broccolini, some noodles, shallots, a little bit of chives and some coriander. Nice and quick. First step is that we've got our scallops, which we've already patted dry. It's very important to pat them dry. Right, here we go.
So you'd have this sort of the smoke alarm. You've had all that tested?
Yeah, smoke alarm's fine, and off we go.
I never had a dish like this before. No, right, why I thought you had to treat the scallops with absolute tenderness. And
well,
care.
the thing with any seafood is you have to cook it very, very quickly, and we don't want to overcook them.
Yeah, look at those.
And they look beautiful.
They do.
Now,
They're nice and plump.
When we've got the scallops like that, you can see they're just seared. So we'll take those off and we'll put them on a bit of kitchen towel.
How many scallops would you work out per person, do you reckon, for a main course?
Depending on the size, but you'd be looking probably about, I reckon, 10 to a dozen. Now, what we'll do
You
here...
could just have them like that. Keith, they look fantastic.
Oh,
Now, don't worry
they're
about
really
the rest.
nice.
Oh, sorry. Okay, all right. This is the peanut oil.
So we want to put a little bit of oil in there, but we'll get those shallots in there now, nice and hot. You can hear them sizzling. Yeah, you can do that for us. And we'll put that broccolini in there.
Oh, look at that.
And just a touch of brown sugar, just to give it a little bit of a shine and a gloss. Now, in that, we'll put a little bit of light soy, not too much because we don't want to detract from the flavour of the scallops.
Right. Yeah.
Just a drop of sesame oil.
Don't you love sesame oil?
It's very, very strong, so we don't want too much. A little bit of oyster sauce. And that's really to taste.
Yeah.
Now, chilies, and once again, depends on how you like them. More?
Yeah, I like, Bit of coriander?
Bit of coriander.
So you just plucked that coriander, you didn't cut it?
Just pluck it.
Yeah.
We've got our noodles there, which we've already heated up. Toss that in there. Now what we want to do is just pop those scallops back in there.
That is so simple, I can't believe it.
It's
What,
quick,
if
isn't
it's
it?
2 or 3 minutes, max.
The thing with
Absolute
seafood
max.
is that if you keep it very simple and don't detract from the flavour of what you're cooking, you're in business.
Can we eat it now?
I think we're in business. Yeah.
That is sensible.
Off we go.
What's it again? What are you calling it?
Oh, it's just a stir fry with rottennest scallops and a bit of broccolini and a few bits of pieces. Cap a bit of garlic in there if you want.
After the break, we visit the Freo markets for a touch of shopping, and then on to Horton Winery to cook up our next tasty recipe. The Freo markets is bursting with culture and vibrancy. People bustling about with their purchases of art, crafts and fresh food. Yeah, it's hard to imagine all those years ago when this first opened that people actually arrived here in horse and cart. Natasha, tell me about the rich history of this market.
Oh, there's lots to tell. So in 1897, the Fremantle markets opened. Now back then there would have been 15 shops, I think it was, and 13 internal shops inside the market. Over the time, the market then changed into a wholesale market. In 1975, it opened as what it is today, the Fremantle markets.
And I would imagine it'd be a great magnet for tourists as well as locals.
Oh, an absolute must for tourists. Something to eat. It's where you can experience the Fremantle culture, see a busker, feel part of them, you know, get the absorb the atmosphere, feel part of the community.
Natasha, tell me how the market's evolved over the years to where it is today.
I think markets have become where people experience the fad. What's new, what's hip, what's happening. Like at the moment, it would be in the food part, we have something that's called roux tea, where it's the Australian native herbs made into teas. So it's people want to experience what's health, what's fresh, what's new, what's local. And then it's for your clothing, it's what's hip, what are all the young hipsters wearing. It's a testing ground, and that's what we like to remain.
Cutting edge.
Cutting edge, yeah.
I have to say, walking in the doors there, the quality of the produce, the fruit and veg, is quite amazing. I mean, it's just really standout quality.
Family businesses. You know, the people that, some are growers and some of the produce is brought in from other farms, but the people that are selling it to you are the owners.
Now, what about the Heritage Trail Guide? I understand that's very popular for people to follow.
Yes, Fremantle being a heritage town, people want to know the heritage of the building. The fact that we used to have these where we're standing now were old horse stables and chicken coops. Yeah. So people want to know what it used to be like. You know, why are there cobblestones on the floor? It was a safety mechanism to hear the horses coming. People want to know. Yeah.
Well, it's a fabulous market. Thank you for taking us on a tour. But if people come here, of course, they can pick up a copy of this Heritage Trail Guide and enjoy the wonderful sights, the senses, the tastes of the Freo market.
That'd be great.
Behind every great wine is a great winemaker. And here at Horton Winery in Swan Valley, they've had a few, but the driving force started with a 16-year-old called Jack Mann. Hey Ross, tell us about the history of Hortons and the legendary winemaker Jack Mann.
Okay, well, starting at the beginning, Hortons was established in 1836, which was only 7 years after the foundation of the Swan River Colony, which is a free settlement. The first wine was made in the late 1800s by B.W. Ferguson, and he was the guy that appointed Jack's father, George Mann, in 1910. So at the age of 16 years old, Jack started an apprenticeship as a winemaker, and that was his whole career. So 51 consecutive vintages here.
Is that an Australian record or what?
I'm not sure. Certainly in Western Australia it is, yeah.
What about the legacy you've got though? I mean, do you have to keep a certain standard, or are you allowed to develop new styles of wines, like some of the newer varieties coming, the Spanish varieties, that sort of thing?
I guess yes to all those questions. I guess to coin a phrase Jack Mann used, there's no such thing as a bad wine here, and I've hopefully maintained that.
So Ross, as chief winemaker, I mean, you select those varieties of grapes. How long does it take before we see it in the marketplace, for example?
Once we make a decision on a new wine style that involves introducing a new variety, the stick has to go in the ground. Within 3 years, we'd generally get some grapes off it. You can do it in 2, but 3's the accepted norm, and the wine's from there, so 4 years. Short answer.
It's a big investment, isn't it?
It is, and you like to hope you get it right the first time.
Hey Ross, I'm wondering if I could give you a little challenge. I'm going to cook a Western rock lobster, very gently, very subtly, lovely flavours. I wonder if you could choose a nice wine for us.
Well, I think we could find that one.
You could taste it as well.
I probably can. That'd be great, yeah.
There's enough there for you. Now this next recipe, I'm flying solo. It's a fabulous recipe. It is lobster with lemon butter wine sauce. Now look, I'm a little bit apprehensive about the recipe, and I figure if I can do it and get through it all in one piece, then you certainly will be able to do it. The ingredients are simple. Firstly, in a pan like that, we're going to put some beautiful Horton's white wine, some white onion, in there like so, and some freshly squeezed lemon juice. Now, that has to stay in that pan and reduce by about 50%, and I reckon that's going to take 20 minutes. I'll put the top on, and we'll come back and see how it's going in around about 20 minutes. So that, oh, sorry. Got to take the top off here, that should be done. Yes, it is, beautiful. And into that, we're gonna use some milk, about 1/4 cup, and some butter. Of course, this is gonna really thicken it up, be absolutely fantastic. Give that a little bit of a stir. Look, we might just go to a break now, and when I come back, the fun begins. We actually cook the lobster, add the wonderful lemon and butter sauce. How easy is that? It doesn't get any easier, does it? Help!
After the break, we add the lobster to this exquisite sauce.
Oh, look how good is this. I've taken the sauce off. That's cooked to perfection. I'll just add a little bit of parsley to it, not too much. I did add a little bit of pepper and salt as it was cooking. And that is ready to roll. Now, the lobster. As you can see them there, I twisted the tail off and got them to a point like that, but I've also just carefully with the knife, just inserted the knife a little bit on the underneath, just so of the cooking time. So there they go. These beautiful lobster. We'll put the top back on again. I reckon they'll probably take 15 or 20 minutes to cook properly. So now that's been about 15 minutes or so. It depends on the heat of your cooker, but on the Weber it's pretty fast. So there they are. That's done. Tidy up the end part first. Strong knife. There, like that. You can use a cleaver. And there's 4 medallions there. We'll just put them on the plate to start with. There you are, beautiful lobster with lemon, butter and white wine sauce. It does not get any better.
Lobster and lemon butter and white wine sauce. I bet you it tastes as good as it looks. Demands a Chardonnay, I think. Would match perfectly with our crofted Chardonnay. It's a rich, intense flavoured, barrel fermented. Goes perfectly with the rich flavours of the crayfish. Spot on. It's good.
Well, that's our show for today, and I hope you're hungry. You can get both the recipes and special offers from Horton's Winery at outofthebluetv.com.au. See you next time.
Out of the Blue, proudly brought to you by Horton.